Back to Besa starts right now on Fox 13.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Back to Besa. I'm your host, Besa Gordon, and because we are heading into the new year, we wanted to relive some of our favorite stories we have covered here on Back to Besa. This week on Back to Besa, we relived the time that I headed to Boon Boona Coffee in Renton and not only learned more about coffee, but how to make it in the traditional Ethiopian way. We remember and honor those whose lives were taken from us far too soon over at Day of Remembrance, which took place at First AME Church in Capitol Hill. We highlight the time Back to Besa producer Cesar Canizales tapped in with Ground Zero Radio over at the Vera Project for Youth Unfiltered. We head to the Rose City to get to know Dr. Robin Beavers, who was the Vice President of Community and Social Impact for Portland Timbers and Thorns. We highlight real estate mogul and investor Jaebadiah Gardner, who is not only buying up blocks in Seattle, but also giving back to community. We relive Reunion on Union, where people in the Central District came together to catch up with loved ones. Plus, we talk about events happening around the city for New Year's Eve that you need to know about. But up first is Boon Boona Coffee. Being from Seattle, it's no secret that I have a love for coffee. It's my pick me up in the morning and might keep me up when I'm working late at night. So when I found out that September 29th was National Coffee Day, I had to hit up Ephraim Fasaha, CEO and founder of Boon Boona Coffee, to learn not only how they brew their coffee in-house, but also how to make coffee in the traditional Ethiopian way. Let's check out what we learned at Boon Boona.
I don't know if you know this, but September 29th is National Coffee Day. So I had to pull up on Ephraim over at Boon Boona right here in Renton, Washington to not only learn about coffee, but find out how that coffee bean goes from a bean and gets into our cup. We're gonna learn some traditional coffee making practices. We're gonna learn what cupping is, which is actually a very, very dope process. Plus, we're also going to try some of their seasonal flavors and a little bit more. Let's check out what goes down today. Okay, Ali, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm not gonna hold you. I just counted about 12 cups in front of me, all right? Yes. We got some cards that are over, we got some names on them, we got some that are turned over. What is happening here?
It is cupping happening here. Cupping is basically the main tool, most common tool for sensory evaluation in coffee. And it's used for different purposes. It's easy to set up, easy to repeat. And so yeah, that's why it's easy for a standardized testing sensory evaluation.
Okay, well shoot, what's the first part of cupping?
So we weigh this out and then I'm going to grind it back there on the grinder, bring it back here, and I will pour hot water. Let it brew for 4 minutes. There's gonna be a crust forming on top. So this is breaking the crust. You get really close and then just swirl the top. It just breaks it apart, but you really get in there so you can get the smell.
All right, you guys, we are still at Boon Boona in Renton, but right now I have the man of the hour, the owner himself, Ephraim, with me.
What's up, Besa?
Dude, I'm excited, okay? Tell me, we have a lot of things going on here, and we have some beautiful cups in front of us. Tell me, what we got going on right now?
Yeah, so what we're about to do, this is the traditional coffee ceremony. So this is traditional to Ethiopia, Eritrea, even kind of goes a little bit outside of those places too. But what we're going to start off with is green coffee. So the raw product, so this came directly from Ethiopia itself. And then we're gonna roast it with a pan. Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee. And so you've got a little bit of a story behind it. I'll share you that story with you. So start off though, I got a little bit of green coffee in my pan. So it's all set up, ready to go.
It's almost like it's not even about how here we're drinking coffee to wake up.
Yeah.
You guys are drinking it as a bonding and a way to come together.
Yeah, I would say that's a big part of it, is definitely the bonding, is the community that happens around the coffee. I mean, I'll be honest too, you need to kind of wake up to, but it kind of goes beyond that, because the amount of time you're spending there is to cultivate that. So so I added the water, I'm just shaking it up just to stir it all up. I'm gonna turn on the heat now, and we're gonna put that clay pot, that Jaebadiah, directly on top. So this is at a full brew. I'm gonna put the cap right on it, that kind of helps retain the heat. I'm gonna take the Jaebadiah, let it sit over there. You know, for me, when I go and visit my family and we're having the coffee, this way, it's therapeutic. It's a time to, you know, gossip. It's a time to laugh. It's a time to, you know, even mourn. But it's a valuable time, and so it's something that I always look forward to. And of course, you know, to get this experience in the cafe setting, you know, it takes a little bit more time or whatnot. But we want to try finding a good balance between this kind of traditional approach and that of like, yo, I need my espresso to go. Thank you so much, First, you know, for having tried black coffee for your first time and doing it the Jaebadiah style. It's incredible. You got to do the cupping as well.
Yes.
These are seasonal drinks, and so the first one is an almond anise. The second one is a salted pumpkin caramel latte. So we ain't just trying to do a, you know, regular pumpkin latte, you know. This is a salted pumpkin caramel latte. You know, we make the caramel in-house. The whole entire pumpkin, it's your real puree of pumpkin. This last one, I can't wait for you to try it, is what we call bezo or tehni. And this is a common kind of breakfast, you know, beverage in the mornings in East Africa.
This was so much more than what I expected coming in here today. So I'm so happy that we were able to, you know, do the crusting and the cupping and actually roast the coffee beans because, like, again, like you're able to see these things so differently when you're really able to see it go from coffee bean to your cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Be sure to stop by one of Boon Boona's 3 locations in Renton, Seattle, or in the University Bookstore next time you need a coffee pick-me-up. We're off to our first commercial break, but when we come back, we continue to relive some of our favorite Back to Besa stories that were told this year, like Day of Remembrance, where we remember those whose lives were taken from us far too soon, and still to come, we tap in with Ground Zero Radio for Youth Unfiltered. You're watching Back to Besa.
You ever just take a serious moment to reflect on your life and see how far you've come, and more importantly, where you're going? Well, this weekend, believe it or not, I finally had a day off. Crazy, right? Doesn't happen often. And decided to hop on the Washington State Ferry to Bainbridge Island and find my thoughts while gazing back at our Emerald City. This journey called Back to Besa has been a whirlwind to say the least. But as I reflect back on nearly 20 episodes and over 100 stories, yes, can you believe it's been over 100 stories since our launch on July 1st? I realize what a very special position I am in to uplift you and our community. To uplift your stories, your joys, your pains, your passions, and your future. And not just here in Seattle, but in Tacoma, Portland, Spokane, and even Boise. Please believe, I don't take this position that I hold, nor your trust and viewership lightly. And just know that I am still that roundaway girl from the Central District, chasing her dreams and trying to help as many people as I can along the way. Reflecting, it feels good to see how far Back to Besa has come. Gazing into the future, I am so optimistic as to where we will go together. Thank you for your support.
Welcome back to Besa. The second Saturday of September is the National Day of Remembrance for murder victims. And I think it goes without saying, but the amount of lives we've lost this year alone is truly sad. Here in the Emerald City for National Day of Remembrance, a ceremony was held at First AME Church on Capitol Hill where victims were honored, family members were embraced, and community organizations were acknowledged. Back to Besa producers Winfield Ezel Jr., Francisco Lopez, and Carlos Amani were there to capture this powerful event.
We've got to keep our head on the swivel and not just bury the victims, but go further upstream and ask the question, what in the world is going on? Marvin penned with poetic prose and pinpoint precision a roll call, mother, 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 there are far too many of you crying. Father, 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 we don't need to escalate. And he lands again. Brother, 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 what is going on? And so the roll call is in the room. It's you, it's me, it's us. Mothers, far too many crying. Fathers, we don't need to escalate or retaliate. But it's roll call time now.
History is being read, but it's also being written. And the good thing about history is that it can only happen one day at a time. I'm honored to be a part of a piece of history today that our mayor has saw it fit that we don't overstep challenges that have happened, but this will be a legacy that is set that we will always take time to remember, and that deserves an applause in and of itself.
This year we're bringing a community together which consists of survivors, parents, family members, faith leaders, community organizations, civic leaders, to honor those we've lost to gun violence, centering their surviving family, the parents, their siblings, their friends, extended family, uplifting those on the front line. I see you.
What are we doing with what's left? What are we doing with the energy? What are we doing with the light? What are we doing with the thing that gives us joy to know that we gave birth to that, or we had that for a little bit, right? For too short a time. What are we doing with that? So strength for me is the fact that I wake up every day and I gotta figure out today. One day at a time, one step at a time, one word at a time. If you want to sit in your bed, this is what I do. I sit in my bed. And if my leg don't want to move, don't move. Don't move. Okay? No matter what no one says, oh girl, no. Because you don't know what I've been through. And you don't know how my heart is beating at this time. Cry. That's a lot. That's a lot. And you don't owe anybody stoic. Tell the mayor I told you. It's gonna be okay. And things like this give us permission to be all right with where we are right now.
May the rocks cry out, but not for me. Let me worship who you are, God, on my own. Let it be my life. Let it be this poem. For every tear-filled eye, for every frustrated day, in our darkest hours, we'll remember to say that you make everything glorious. Can you say that with me? That you make everything glorious. That you make everything glorious. And that means me.
And so I want to acknowledge, I know my team Southeast Networks here, Community Passageways, Urban Family, and YMCA. It is the endless work that the team members do every day. It's all of those things that were mentioned earlier that you don't see that have contributed to incidents that have not escalated, that have not ended in a fatality or a critical incident. So thank you all.
Young men need somebody to say something positive to them. And 9 times out of 10, young men need other men, right? That are gonna be positive influences. They're looking for a big bro, an uncle, a dad, a father figure. They need that. They want somebody to be stern and let them know this is what you ain't gonna do no more. We can't just keep sitting back looking at them, shaking our finger in our head saying, oh, look at these bad kids. We gotta stop doing that. We gotta step into their lives.
Today, the Harrell administration wants our Seattle community to know that your loved one is not just a statistic. They're not just a number on a shots fired report. They're not just a shell casing on the ground. We want to give a name and a face and a story to your loved ones, to your uncle, your brother, your sister. They were a part of our beloved community, and we want to ensure that your family members will never be erased.
I remember the first time I watched this segment and I literally bawled like a little baby. Each person who was remembered that day has a family that still has loved ones that miss them. They had lives that they touched in ways that they may not have even known. They had a life that they lived that was ended far too soon due to violence in our city and our country. And as we continue mourning losses together, let's continue to support each other in these times as we move into the new year. And again, thank you so much to our producers, Winfield Ezel Jr., Francisco Lopez, and Carlos Amani for capturing this moment. Okay, we're off to another commercial break because that was definitely heavy. So grab some water, replenish your snacks, and when we come back, it's time for Youth Unfiltered with GZ Radio. You're watching Back to Besa. Welcome back to Besa. The youth really are the truth right now, and it's something special about this generation that truly keeps a smile on my face as I watch them elevate and take the world by storm. As we continue to go down memory lane, I want to take a moment to highlight some youth in media who are truly taking over in the best way. We sent our Back to Besa producer, Cesar Canizales, to tap in with the amazing young adults who run Ground Zero Radio over at Vera Project, where we got to learn not only about those who are running the program, but also how and why it was started. Believe it or not, GZ works with youth between the ages of 15 to 25, which gives them 10 years to decide what they want to do in media world. Back over to you, Cesar.
This is not your typical multimedia operation. This is Ground Zero Radio, or GZR as the young staff sometimes call it. Housed within the Vera Project on the Seattle Center campus, Ground Zero is a youth-led program that offers a platform to young people who want to learn the ropes of working in media. Podcasting, radio, video, filmmaking, you name it. Caitlin Nyangate is one of the founders of Ground Zero. She started her career as an intern at Rainier Avenue Radio.
With Ground Zero, we give our age range is between 15 and 25. And that's literally 10 years for youth to figure out what they want to do, how they want to apply it, what other things could interest them to build their skills.
This is Marian Mohammed, Ground Zero.
Marian Mohammed, a young journalist who has already won an award for her work covering the election of Congresswoman Ilhan Omar in Minnesota, was tasked with launching GZR's newsroom from scratch. While that came as a bit of a surprise to Mohammed, she took on the job enthusiastically because it has helped her build relationships with the community.
I really love going into communities and going into gatherings or places where the news is happening and connecting with people and telling them hey, we have a newsroom, and then showing people what we've created.
Ground Zero is not limited to news. It also includes Sonic Sludge, a music-based show featuring local bands that normally would not get much exposure.
Anything that is...
Masawa Yamada serves as mentor for the young staff at Ground Zero. He says the organization was born, so to speak, during the pandemic, and eventually the Vera Project sponsored them. Yamada says GZR has about 10 different podcasts in production, which will be released later this summer, including Sonic Sludge. He says the ultimate goal of Ground Zero is to uplift youth and to give young people from different backgrounds opportunities to learn.
But when given the opportunity, they begin to excel. They begin to see the things that are possible for themselves. They begin to then create their own future. So one thing that I want to be doing is to help them create what their future and their careers will look like.
Nyangate says one of the positive aspects of working at Ground Zero is the family atmosphere.
It's not a clock in, clock out, I'm ready to go home. After we're done, we always kick back, always grab food, and we learn about each other. We're always getting to know one another, figure out how we work when it comes to being in the field, figuring out how to share our ideas.
Maintaining mental health is important to Nyangate, who says that, in addition to uplifting youth, Ground Zero provides a creative outlet for the young people who work there.
When you put your energy and interest into something that can help you grow mentally, as well as maybe kind of calm you down or take you out of whatever funk you've been in, I'd say that's definitely healing.
Mentally, that kind of creative outlet is very rare, I feel especially for kids who come from the South End, who come from communities that don't have that accessibility to the arts.
I truly do love what they're doing over at GZ Radio. As some of you may know, I got my start in radio by really getting on the street team and working my way up. But after COVID hit, getting on the street team, at least here in Seattle at the moment, is no longer a thing. So what GZ Radio is doing is truly groundbreaking for those who want to get their foot in the door. So if you know someone between the ages of 15 and 25 years old that wants to get in media, be sure to have them tap in with GZ Radio over at gzradio.org. Okay, so it's time for another break, but when we come back, we're headed to the Rose City to relive the moment we caught up with Dr. Robin Beavers, who is the Vice President of Community and Social Impact for the Portland Timbers and Thorns. Plus, we get to know real estate mogul Jaebadiah Gardner. Welcome back to Back2Besa. As the show has grown, I've gone back and forth to Portland a lot. And during one of those trips, I got to meet the amazing Dr. Robin Beavers, who is the Vice President of Community and Social Impact for the Portland Timbers and Thorns. Dr. Beavers was a breath of fresh air and is the true definition of walking in your purpose while also making a difference in the lives of the people she works with and inspiring little black and brown girls to go after their dreams. Here's her story.
Hi, my name is Dr. Robin Beavers. I am the VP for Community and Social Impact for the Portland Timbers and the Thorns, and welcome to our house. My job is basically to be out in the community promoting soccer or using soccer to help uplift the city. Also in charge of our diversity, equity, and inclusion work that we do here at the club. The owner gave me the opportunity to use this platform to go out and work in the community. And I am born and raised here in Portland, third generation Oregonian. My parents raised me and my sisters here, had a great childhood. I want everyone else to have an amazing childhood as well as just an amazing time while they're here in Portland. I mean, this is the city that raised me and I love it. And we've gone through so much since the pandemic. All the racial turmoil, not that we ain't always had racial issues, but you know, it's just highlighted during the pandemic. The riots, just the city is just tore up. And so to be able to come here and use this and kind of put out there some positive energy, that's why I work here, because they gave me the platform to do so. The people that are serving their communities, they know what they're doing, you know, they know how to serve, but they don't necessarily have the capacity to serve in the way in which to really help and uplift the people that they're working with. So to be able to use this platform, and whether it's donation dollars, donation items, whether it's taking volunteers or players out to their organizations, so that they can be amongst those who they serve. Like that, to me, is like the equity and inclusion work. You go and do those in those marginalized communities. When all these people are in this stadium, they cheering for one team, one team. My thing is, if you can take all that same energy, y'all all together cheering for the team, and take that out into the streets and try to make the communities better, man, that would be amazing. The way that I get players involved is I try to take them to communities that they can relate to, which I don't think anyone who's ever been in this position has ever been able to do. More so because they weren't from here and didn't have those trusted relationships.
Almost heard those.
No!
I was literally sitting there and just nodding my head, cackling, but also just really feeling what you were saying. Like, you really love what you do.
I do.
Like, it's not like you're just doing it because you get paid to do it. Like, you genuinely enjoy this. Like, it almost seems fulfilling for you.
So in 2017, I got a prophetic message, and it said, you're going to influence influencers.
If you could talk to 11-year-old self, what would you tell her right now in this place and what you're doing? And now that you're back at home. I mean, obviously you were here before, but now you're like fully planted.
Right. I would tell my 11-year-old self, don't forget my cousin / kind of god sister told me when I was little. She told me, because I'm dark skinned, she's like, man, your black is beautiful. And I would remind my 11-year-old self, don't you forget that. Don't let that stop you. There's all these stereotypes out there, but you live your purpose and you go do the work that God put you out here to do.
To be around Dr. Beavers was truly an honor. One thing I asked her was how she's been able to keep so many community relationships over the years. And she said it was because they were genuine relationships and nothing was transactional. She gets to know people she works with on a personal level rather than just a surface level, which is definitely something we all should be doing when it comes to building relationships. Another person we caught up this year who is truly living in their purpose is none other than real estate mogul and investor Jaebadiah Gardner, who you may remember from our story about giving back in Skyway. When we caught up with Jaebadiah, it was important to me that we told his story in a way that people can relate to. Let's be honest, it's not often you hear about someone of color from Spokane, Washington buying up blocks in Seattle, but Jaebadiah has done it. And if being a real estate developer is something you want to do, you can too. Let's take a moment to check out Jaebadiah's story.
I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always been kind of beating to my own drum. I didn't know what that was as a young age, but as I got more experienced professionally and real estate kind of came into my peripheral, I realized I was super passionate about it, and I realized that that was one of the wealth centers in the world where wealth gets generated through real estate. And so I went on this rampage, this obsessive rampage of trying to really understand everything I could and develop a business model around it. Because ultimately it's about taking care of my family and those who I love and those who are close to me. And this is a vehicle for me to do so. I don't come from a family of resources. I don't come from a family of a real estate background. I'm a first generation real estate developer and an investor. And so I had to do a lot of research, a lot of digging. If I'm gonna start a business, I had to know what business I was getting into, right? And we're talking about, real estate is one of the oldest businesses in the book. This is how folks have been able to maintain and grow their wealth and take care of their families. And so, I just stuck to my own script, wrote a business plan and stuck to the script. And here we are almost 15 years later. Man, it sounds cliche, but my first book was titled Believe in Yourself for a reason. And I think when people start to actually manifest that belief versus just say it, then they start to see things change. And what that means is, you got to be consistent with what it is you want to do. You can't switch the script. If you want to be a mechanic, if you want to be a teacher, if you want to be a real estate developer, if you want to be a media, media icon, you got to do the things that it takes to get there and not switch up because times get hard. And I wrote about that in my book, that a lot of people, they see the goal and it looks like a straight line, but ultimately, it's a lot of zigzags. Stay focused, and ask yourself, is this gonna get me closer to my dream, my goals, my passion? If it's not, then there's your answer. I'm still navigating, racism isn't over. Systemic oppression isn't something that just ended because I was able to secure a few deals. It's alive and well. And the navigation part is that's the journey, but it's also being able to be savvy enough to understand when to confront that oppression. What I've been able to do is channel that feeling into positivity and progression. So whenever I feel it, I learn different ways and avenues to navigate around the conversation to make sure that we execute. And I don't let the systemic oppression, victimize my business or my mentality to where I'm boo-hooing and crying wolf. It is what it is. We live in America. It's not to our advantage. So knowing those are the rules of the game, I play the rules the same way they do, except I just got to be a lot more educated about the process. I hope that there's other Black and brown kids out there who can see themselves in the work that I'm doing, because it is attainable. You just got to sacrifice and put in that work. I would tell 7-year-old Jaebadiah, because that Jaebadiah experienced a lot in the first 7 years of life. I would tell him that the pain that you feel is going to be the toughest pain you'll ever feel, so everything else is going to be easy. Just that pain, you already felt it. You ain't going to feel pain like that again. You can't. So go ahead and just take what you need to take from the universe and have a good time doing it.
Not only is Jaebadiah buying blocks and developing affordable housing in Seattle, but like I said earlier, he's paying it forward by giving back to the community, which I think is a beautiful thing. If you haven't already gotten it, you can grab his book, Believe in Yourself, over at Jaebadiah.com. We're off to another commercial break, but when we come back, we're taking a look back at Reunion on Union. Welcome back to Back2Besa. In case you missed it, Reunion on Union was an event like no other. It wasn't about shopping. It was truly a reunion for those who are from the Central District. The event was filled with people young and old, catching up, eating delicious food, dancing, laughing, hugging, and truly enjoying each other's company. Let's take a moment to look back at Reunion on Union.
We are here today at Reunion on Union at 23rd and Union. We have all of the community that's come out today who have been displaced and moved to other parts of the county, of the state, of the city, who have come back here today to commune with one another and really enjoy all of the good food, the good music. We got Tiffany Wilson. This event is important because for years, for those who don't know, the Central District started out at about 70% Black, now moving from 70% down to less than 10%. So this event is meaningful, it's impactful because it gives opportunity for those in the community who were raised here, who have history here, rich, deep roots, to come back and reconvene and really reestablish what it means to be together and just have a good time.
Today we are here to celebrate Blackness, to restore the connection, to uplift and amplify Black voices around the Central District of Seattle.
It's an honor to sit with them, to hear the stories, to see them commune with one another. It's an honor to be in this space, and I think that hopefully anyone else within my generation would say the same thing, that it's an honor to sit with the elders and to hear the stories and to have them essentially encourage us to carry on the legacy that they placed in the community for us.
My father used to live on 20th and Union. My mom, Dee Charlene, her first beauty shop was on 2511 Union Avenue before she moved over on Madison, so it's lots of memories for me.
Here in Seattle, we only make up 7% of the population. We're only 50,000 strong in the municipality, but we fighting for every inch.
I'm here in Remembrance in honor of Elijah L. Lewis. He was a big part of the community and a big part of this event, Reunion on Union last year. And I just wanted to make sure that we continued his legacy and continued the work he was doing. And we're excited to see what the years coming will bring. It's going to get better and better every year. And we're just happy to be here.
Our vision as an organization is to see the Black Seattle thrive. And so when we think about that, we think about community and we think about all the events that we've had throughout the year. Summer of Soul, this is the end technically of part of our Summer of Soul events. And so the way that it aligns with ACLT's vision is that we are giving community an opportunity to come back and to thrive together and thrive in place where it all began. The history here with the Central District is obviously very rich, and there's not a lot of opportunities that we've had over the years to actually come together. And so ACLT continues to give opportunity to community to thrive in place. And today, this is our place.
This is for our ancestors. This is for you. This is for the generations of babies and children. Today, I want people to feel uplifted. I want people to feel empowered to go home, to spread their love, to spread their support in their community and pour it back into their household and around them.
We are having a good time. That is what's happening here today. What's also happening is this recognition in the community that we're having this beautiful renaissance in the city, in the Central District, where people are coming back to community, they're coming back home. And so we are celebrating the essence of community. We're celebrating the essence of coming home. We're celebrating the essence of the Central District today and what it's always been about, which is community.
This was the 4th year of Reunion on Union, which is part of Africa Town Community Land Trust's Summer of Soul series, which is aimed at creating events centered around creating space in the Central District for Black people to celebrate Black joy, innovation, business, and community. To learn more about Africa Town Community Land Trust and their mission, head over to africatownlandtrust.org. It's time for us to jump into another commercial break, but when we come back, we're talking about events happening around the city for New Year's you need to know about. Welcome back to Back2Besa. It's time for events to know about, where I tell you about all the dope events happening around the city you don't want to miss out on. First up.
Not gonna hold you, this events to know about is gonna be pretty long, but there's honestly a lot of things happening around the city for New Year's, so let's talk about it. There is the 2024 New Year's Eve party on the lanes, plus live DJ at Ocean 5 over in Gig Harbor. New Year's Eve is going down also at Supernova Seattle. New Year's Eve 2024 at Ohm Culture in Seattle. Now, I thought this one was pretty dope, okay? New Year's Eve Seattle, New Year's Eve bar crawl, okay? You are getting access to 10 plus venues. And if you go, you want to make sure that you check in at the Pine Box between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. Now, for those that like to wait to the last minute to do their New Year's Eve plans, there is a whole event for you. It's called Slackers New Year's Eve Party and Show, and it's happening over at Club Comedy Seattle. There's a New Year's Eve party going down at Trinity Nightclub. Now, if you're looking for a Christian party vibe, 2024 New Year's Eve party is happening at Accord Lounge in Seattle, where DJ Reyna will play Christian hip hop and R&B music. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but this Christian hip hop is actually a vibe. So I'm pretty sure that anyone that goes there is gonna have a really, really good time. Then you also have the 2024 New Year's Eve Extravaganza. This is happening over at Red Lounge. So look, if you're looking for some Afro beats or reggae vibes, that is definitely where you want to be. Wrapped 2024 New Year's Eve party is at Time Rap with DJ Magic Shine. Urban Hookah Lounge is presenting the 2024 New Year's Eve Bash. This is happening at 1731 4th Ave South Seattle. Ignite 2024 is going down at the W Seattle. Now, Tuda Bella, I didn't even know if they do this for New Year's Eve, but this is pretty cool. Tuda Bella's New Year's Eve Bash 2023 is happening at their South Lake Union location. And if you've never been to their South Lake Union location, you should know that they have the perfect view of the Space Needle once you're on their patio. So if you go there, you definitely want to pull up and make sure that you're outside on the patio. That way you can see the fireworks at the Space Needle. And speaking of the Space Needle, they are doing their fireworks show again, okay? They have teamed up with T-Mobile, and in case you don't know, Hits 106.1 is actually the soundtrack for this. So while you're watching the fireworks, you basically, you want to turn on the radio. That way you can watch the light show and get some music going, okay? Now, GSL is putting on their annual New Year's Eve event. It's called A Night to Remember, and it's going down at the Marriott in downtown Tacoma. I've personally been to these before, and I had a blast. I made some new friends. There was great music. There were great vibes. There was some live painting. Like, I'm not gonna hold you, I had a really, really good time at that one. Now, I will warn you and say that their VIP sells out very, very quickly, so don't try to pop up that night trying to think you're gonna get a VIP table, okay? They will 9 out of 10 be already sold out, and they're already saying that they're selling really fast, okay? And then also, yes, I told you this was gonna be a long one. Bellevue New Year's Eve night market is something dope that I've never actually experienced, but it's really cool because it's happening a little bit more during the day. So the Bellevue New Year's Eve night market is going from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Also, Laser New Year's Eve at Laser Dome at the Pacific Science Center. Then you also have the 2024 New Year's Eve Bash Bonfire and Potluck. This is happening over at Gasworks, so you already know that's going to be a vibe. But let's be honest, parking might be a little crazy, so definitely get there early. And lastly, we talked about this last week. Laid Back Allure is having Champagne Dreams over at Civil Tea and Unrest in Bellevue.
All right, that's it for this week's events to know about. If you know of an event I should shout out next week, send an email with the event details to Back2Besa@whereweconverge.com. We're out to our last commercial break, but when we come back, it's time for Affirmation of the Week. Welcome back to Besa. I'm your host, Besa Gordon, and before we end any show, we like to leave you with an affirmation. This week's affirmation is, today I am prepared. I am prepared for success, love, happiness, peace, joy, and abundance. I am prepared for my wildest dreams to come true. There's a saying, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Say your dream is to work for Oprah or even be a dancer for Beyonce. If you were in the elevator with them tomorrow, would you know what to say? Would you have your demo ready for Beyonce? Would you have your resume updated for Oprah? If not, then you might not be as ready as you think you are. Being ready means you know at any moment your time is coming. So, if you are in an elevator with someone that can change your life, you have what you need, or shall I say, they need to help make that change in your life. Because in all honesty, you never know when your time will come. When I went into radio, I had no clue if ever Cube 93 would come back. But when it did, I was ready to take the chance on myself. And I'm so happy that I did because my life has changed forever. But that's only because I was prepared. So, with the new year upon us, make sure you have all your ducks in order and you are ready for whatever will come your way. Now that's it for this week's episode of Back to Besa. I hope you enjoyed all of this week's recaps of some of our favorite moments as we head into the new year. Of course, if you have anything you want me to know about, shoot me an email at Back2Besa@converge.com. That can be a business you want me to highlight, an upcoming event, or even someone within our community I should know about. Whatever or whoever it is, I can't wait to hear from you. Don't forget to catch me in Seattle on Hits 106.1 weekdays 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. and in Portland Saturdays 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Jammin' 107.5. Until next week, I want to wish you all a happy new year. Thank you for your continued support of Back to Besa, and as usual, have an amazing rest of your day, and of course, keep that energy high.